Don't let the haters bring you down. Just keep going. Keep chasing your passions and dreams no matter what. Do not let negative people get between you and your goals.
Steve Harvey is sweating, and not the kind you get from bright stage lights or another Family Feud showdown. This is the kind of panic sweat that hits when a man realizes his picture-perfect image might be seconds away from getting wrecked. Word on the street is spreading fast. 50 Cent isn't finished. After ripping apart Diddy's empire in that explosive Netflix expose, the internet's still buzzing, dissecting every clip, every clue. Now, 50's got his lens pointed at the people who helped Diddy build that flashy world of power and secrets. And believe it or not, one of those names floating in the mix is Steve Harvey. The timing couldn't be worse. Diddy's sitting behind bars, 50's out here celebrating every minute, and suddenly Steve's name is being whispered in the same breath as private party lists and hidden industry connections. It's chaos out here. Everyone remembers how crazy things got last year when Cassie's lawsuit blew the gates wide open. In a matter of weeks, Diddy went from being a music mogul to practically living in the courtroom. The whole industry's still shaking. The federal trial had everything: charges, shocking footage, and that Netflix promise that every second of it was legally obtained. But behind those bold headlines, something darker started to stir. A question no one could ignore. Who else was in those rooms? Who else really knew what was going on? 50 Cent couldn't hide his grin through it all. He was online dropping memes, throwing shade, and hinting that the truth was only getting started. And now insiders are whispering that the next truth bomb might just hit Steve Harvey. The man who's long sold himself as the wise mentor, the solid father figure, the moral voice of daytime TV. But what if that clean-cut version of Steve was just another act? Here's the uncomfortable piece nobody wants to say out loud. Steve wasn't just an invited guest at Diddy's legendary white parties. He was part of the scene, relaxed, friendly, right at home in that high-powered circle. Pictures are resurfacing, rumors are flying, and people who claim they were around back then say Steve wasn't exactly a stranger to Diddy's after-hours lifestyle. This wasn't business networking. This was being close to power, real influence. And now, that old connection looks a whole lot less innocent, especially since 50 Cent is gearing up for part 2 of his revenge saga. And this time, he's focusing straight on Diddy's inner circle. The story's practically writing itself. The powerful men who laughed together, covered for each other, and acted like nothing was happening. It's all unraveling fast. And what's really making the internet lose it? Lori Harvey, Steve's adopted daughter. Flashback to summer 2019. Lori and Diddy spotted jet-setting through Cabo in Italy, enjoying private dinners with Steve and Marjorie, smiling like one big picture-perfect family. The dots are starting to connect, and fans can't stop talking. Back then, everyone thought it was just awkward, maybe even straight up weird, but the story faded away like nothing happened. Now, it's roaring back with a vengeance. People are digging through old photos again. Lori, just 22, and Diddy, 49. Matching fits, public strolls, cozy family trips. The internet's asking the same question over and over. What was Steve really thinking when he smiled for those cameras? We've seen the comments. Where was Uncle Steve? Why didn't he say anything? Was he cool with it just because it was Diddy? That silence, the one that once looked like class and restraint, now feels like something way more suspicious. And the timing couldn't be wilder because word is 50 Cent's collecting footage, old clips, and insider interviews from people who were actually there at those parties and events. Folks who saw things up close and might finally be ready to drop real names. If that's true, then Steve's cool, calm act might not be calm at all. It might be fear in disguise. People forget that 50 and Diddy's feud didn't start yesterday. It's been boiling for years. It goes all the way back to 2006 when Diddy refused to release Mace from his Bad Boy contract.
So that's just competitive.
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him.
Okay,
like that.
damn, all right. I didn't know what that meant.
So he could join G-Unit. That's when the sparks flew. 50 fired back with diss tracks, sly lyrics, and hip-hop whispers that Diddy might have known more about Biggie's tragic death than he ever admitted. For a minute, the drama cooled. They even hit the same stage once. But by the mid-2000s, 50 was back in full attack mode, dropping wild posts online and sending thinly veiled warnings like he was gearing up for something big. Now it's all coming full circle. And this time, nobody's safe from the fallout. At first, everyone thought 50 Cent was just trolling, cracking jokes and stirring drama online like usual. But then Cassie dropped that lawsuit, and suddenly, every old post of his looked like a warning that nobody took seriously. Now, 50's done something wild, something no one else even dared to try. He's turned all those whispers into a full-blown documentary empire. Sean Combs. The Reckoning hit Netflix in December, and the reaction was straight-up chaos. Diddy's team came out swinging, claiming the footage was stolen. Netflix clapped back, saying it was all fair use. Meanwhile, the whole world couldn't look away, streaming, rewinding, dissecting every second like detectives on a mission. Then, right when the dust started to settle, 50 dropped another bomb, a teaser for his next project, the one about the friends. He didn't drop any names, but he didn't need to. Fans filled in the blanks fast, matching screenshots, digging up guest lists, and debating who exactly those friends might be. And when Steve Harvey's name started popping up in that mix, everything blew up. Industry insiders are saying 50's new documentary dives deep into the culture of protection that surrounded Diddy, the powerful entertainers, business moguls, and TV faces who hovered around his empire and got comfortable in the glow of his influence. The message hits hard. These people weren't just party guests. They were part of the system. And that's what makes it sting even more when you look at Steve Harvey, the man who spent years preaching about character, integrity, and faith. The contrast is almost cinematic, the kind of twist nobody saw coming but can't stop talking about. The same man who's been teaching audiences how to spot a liar might now be racing to dodge a story that paints him as one. It's wild, but we all know how fast 50 Cent moves when he's locked in. His first docuseries was announced in late 2023, and by the next year, it was already a massive Netflix headline. So if 50's cameras are rolling right now, Steve doesn't have months to plan his next move. He's got days. That sudden silence around him says everything. No jokes, no slick comments, no social media chatter. Just pure quiet. The kind that screams, someone's PR team told him to zip it. Now! And that eerie calm hits even harder when you remember his past drama. Steve's ex-wife, Mary Shackelford, once accused him of some serious emotional damage. Words like soul damage, manipulation, even brainwashing came up in her $60 million lawsuit. Sure, the courts tossed it out, but her words never really disappeared. They stuck in people's minds, lingering online for years. Her videos, her tears, her claims about being silenced by power and money, all of it's being rewatched now through a whole new lens. There's even that emotional moment when she said, "He took my Winton from me. He turned my son against me." That one line hits like a punch. Whether people believed her back then or not, the internet's bringing it back with a vengeance. Now, with 50 Cent digging into Diddy's circle, and let's not forget, Steve's third marriage to Marjorie has been its own soap opera of whispers and rumors. From cheating talk to family tension, the Harveys have been juggling PR fires for years. But this time, it's a whole different level. This isn't about relationship drama or daytime TV gossip. This is federal case adjacent, a full-blown docuseries backed by prosecutors, raw footage, and 50 Cent in the driver's seat. A man who's turned payback into pure entertainment gold.
You gotta be careful of people who become victims of circumstances that they create. You on here talking about me. I didn't talk about you. If you wanna sit down, I'll sit down. Man, I'll sit down with anybody. I promise you I will, man. I'm that big a man now. You know, now 30 years ago, I'd have found you with purpose. Yeah. But not no more, man.
Is it low-hanging fruit? Because
the irony here is wild. Diddy once crowned himself the party king of New York, while Steve built his throne on being the king of self. Now both crowns look bent and tarnished. Those once glamorous white parties that Diddy hosted are now being re-examined through a darker lens. What people used to call legendary nights are being described as something way more sinister. And suddenly, Steve's entire motivational empire, the books, the talks, the image, feels shaky, almost hollow. How do you keep selling family values when your family once sat at the dinner table with a man now convicted of transporting women across state lines for what the jury called commercial purposes? How do you preach integrity and leadership when your own silence is louder than any sermon you've ever given? It's a question fans are shouting online, and it's not going away. People who knew Diddy say his inner circle was a fortress. You didn't get in unless you were powerful, connected, or straight up untouchable. So the big question now, why was Steve Harvey in that room? What exactly did he bring to the table, besides his famous name and a golden ticket into mainstream America? The puzzle pieces are out there, and 50's making sure they don't stay hidden for long. Steve's name floating in that cloud, everything's starting to connect in ways that make folks uneasy. It doesn't sound like random gossip anymore. It's starting to look like a pattern of a man who's spent years mastering the art of controlling the story, before the story takes control of him. It's a fair question. For a man who always swore he stays out of the mess, Steve sure keeps ending up right in the middle of it. Maybe he thought his charm could protect him. Or maybe he just didn't realize how deep 50 Cent's investigation was about to dig. But with every day that passes, every new leak, every new teaser, that clean, untouchable image of Steve's is starting to look more like a well-polished costume. And you can almost feel the pressure closing in on him. 50 Cent doesn't move without a plan. Every post, every caption, every random meme has a strategy behind it. He knows exactly which names will trend and which ones will make headlines explode. And attaching Steve Harvey's name to anything involving Diddy? That's like throwing gasoline on a fire. Instant chaos. Fans are deep diving through old interviews now, pulling up clips where Steve preached about giving people second chances and not judging a man by his past mistakes. But this time, those words hit different. Was it wisdom or was it self-protection? People can't decide, but the internet's running wild trying to figure it out. Some insiders are whispering that 50's upcoming project isn't just about the wild parties. It's about the cover-ups, the handlers, the so-called friends, and the famous TV personalities who helped keep Diddy's empire polished and untouchable. If that's true, then Steve's role in this whole story might be way bigger and a lot more complicated than anyone expected. If that's true, then Steve's name being part of the story suddenly makes perfect sense. He was the crossover guy. The clean, charming face who could glide between hip-hop's Flash and Middle America's Family TV with ease. That's exactly what makes this situation hit harder. If he was connected, even a little, what does that say about how deep this culture really went? The lines between Hollywood glamour and hidden chaos are starting to blur, and fast. And Netflix? They're not backing down one bit this time. Diddy's lawyers have been threatening lawsuits since before The Reckoning even dropped, calling the footage stolen and accusing 50 of running a personal vendetta. But Netflix stood firm, waving the legal heat off like it was nothing. So when this second project drops, there won't be any hesitation. No soft rollout, no second guessing. The public's hooked, and 50 knows it. He's feeding the frenzy drip by drip, clue by clue, like a master at work. Meanwhile, Steve's entire brand, the books, the talk shows, the motivational tours, has always been built on one foundation: moral clarity. Every word he's spoken over the past decade has circled back to faith, focus, and family. But now people are asking, what happens when the man preaching those values is rumored to have stood shoulder to shoulder with someone now sitting in federal prison? Fans are split. Some are defending him, saying he's just being dragged in by association. Others aren't so sure anymore. The doubt is growing. The conversations are getting louder, and the shine on Steve's image is starting to look like it's cracking under the spotlight. Others say Steve's silence says everything. Either way, the man who built his empire teaching people how to stay calm in chaos suddenly looks like he's drowning in his own. And the craziest part? This story is far from over. Whispers are flying that 50 Cent's production team has already locked in testimony from people who were actually at those same exclusive events. Names we haven't even heard yet. Stories that could flip everything upside down. If that's true, then Steve's panic isn't just paranoia, it's preparation. Because when 50's camera turns your way, there's no safe escape, only damage control. Right now, the internet is completely divided. Some say 50's pushing things too far, turning real scandals into public spectacle just for views. But others think he's doing what the system couldn't, dragging the truth into the light, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. And caught right in the middle of that firestorm is Steve Harvey, a man praying that this chaos blows over before it hits him head on. But with every new leak, every rumor, and fresh footage dropping almost weekly, this isn't just a passing storm anymore. It's starting to look like its own reckoning, the kind of reckoning that doesn't stop until everyone connected feels the heat. The thing about a reckoning, it never stops with just one man.
Didn't say anything, you would interpret it as the hip-hop is fine with his behaviors. There's no one else being vocal. So you would look at it and just say, because that mind your business, or let me not say nothing about nothing, or those things, it would allow the entire culture to register as if they're for that.
It always reaches out for the ones who stood beside him, the ones who stayed close when the spotlight started to burn. And Steve Harvey, whether he likes it or not, might be next in line. Here's where things get darker. Steve isn't just some entertainer. He's a man with serious reach. He's syndicated in over 60 markets, written bestsellers, and built friendships with some of the biggest names across networks like Disney and top entertainment circles. Behind the scenes, the quiet conversations aren't asking what Steve did. They're whispering about what he knew. That's the part no one in the industry wants to say out loud, especially in a business built on loyalty, silence, and closed doors. People who've worked inside those circles, assistants, stylists, even a former event planner, are now hinting that everyone who mattered in those rooms knew something. They claim it was an open secret dressed up in luxury, expensive champagne, designer suits, and a whole lot of denial. One insider even said, "You couldn't be around Diddy and not see something off." Those words hit hard because they paint a picture that's impossible to ignore. So when Steve Harvey, the man who's made a career out of preaching virtue, family, and faith, shows up as a familiar face in that same world, the question changes. It's no longer, was he involved? But how much did he overlook? And what's really making people pause are the timelines. They line up too perfectly. Back in 2019, Diddy was still untouchable, hosting his infamous parties that would later be described in court as performance events. That was the same summer Lori Harvey was being spotted jet-setting around the world with him. Photos everywhere, smiles, vacations, the whole picture-perfect facade. Now those same images carry a different kind of weight, and the world's finally connecting the dots. Cabo, Italy, even that now infamous lunch with her parents. Back then, nobody thought much of it. It was just celebrity gossip, something for the tabloids to chew on. But once the reckoning dropped and those party clips started living rent-free in the public's imagination, everything changed. Those once harmless vacation photos began resurfacing, and suddenly, that smiling Harvey family dinner looked way less innocent. Now people are wondering, was it just family bonding or something deeper? Maybe a quiet endorsement, a calculated silence, or even a business alliance hiding behind polite laughter. Insiders have started connecting dots that most people missed before. Diddy wasn't just throwing wild parties. He was building power networks. Those rooms weren't just for fun. They were deal-making arenas. Music moguls rubbed shoulders with politicians. Actors mingled with Wall Street players, and careers were exchanged like poker chips. In that light, Steve Harvey's presence suddenly makes a lot more sense. Not as a comedian dropping by for laughs, but as a businessman trying to stay relevant and connected. At the time, his Sand and Soul Festival was facing trouble. Sponsors were backing out, money was tight, and Diddy's C-Rock branding was everywhere in that same entertainment space. People close to the scene claimed there were real conversations happening, mutual promotions, handshake deals, unspoken agreements that never hit paper. If those whispers hold any truth, then Steve wasn't just a guest. He was a collaborator, playing the game to keep his empire alive. And let's be real.
So they in that generation. And I asked them what is it, and they said, Dad, you clickbait. He said, you clickbait.
Yeah.
He said, you one of the most viral people in your age group out there. He said, Dad, every clip on Family Feud got you on it.
Yeah.
You clickbait. If they can take your face and put it on anything, you become clickbait. He said, and that's what it is, you know.
Now, with all these old connections being re-examined, those cracks are starting to show in high definition, and the timing couldn't be worse. We've all seen how tightly Steve guards his image. The books about faith, the speeches on discipline, the motivational talks about being a better man. Every move he makes has been about control and presentation, but that's exactly what makes his past scandals hit so hard now. His second wife, Mary Shackelford, once accused him of deep psychological torment, claiming in that explosive $60 million lawsuit that he destroyed her soul through manipulation and deceit. Sure, the court tossed it out, but those words, soul destruction, never really left people's minds. And now, when Diddy's accusers use eerily similar language about their own emotional destruction, the parallels are impossible to ignore. It's not about saying the actions were the same. It's about recognizing the pattern of control. Powerful men who built their empires on charm and intimidation, blending fear and charisma, calling it mentorship when it might have been something else entirely. Even Steve's third marriage, the one that made him the walking poster for family values, hasn't escaped the rumor mill. The whisper network around him has never gone silent. Marjorie's name has popped up more than once. Talk of financial strain, quiet separations, even affairs that never quite saw the light of day. Nothing proven, but the rumors hang heavy, always circling back when controversy hits. And now, with all these resurfaced accusations and Diddy's chaos spilling into new territory, people are starting to see Steve's perfect life through a new lens. Not as a picture of peace, but as a carefully managed illusion that might finally be cracking apart. The Harveys deny everything, but silence can be louder than words, and it's starting to echo. Every public move they make now feels choreographed. The matching outfits, the glowing interviews, the emotional posts about gratitude and togetherness. Some folks are saying it's not about love anymore. It's about narrative control. When your image starts slipping, distraction becomes a survival skill. It's almost impossible not to draw the parallels between Steve's obsession with protecting his image and Diddy's ultimate downfall. Both men turned branding into a belief system, a kind of personal religion. Diddy's legendary parties were his temples, filled with flashing lights and famous faces. Steve's talk shows were his pulpits, where he preached lessons on life, faith, and success. And in both worlds, there were loyal followers, fans, friends, even industry allies, ready to defend them no matter what. But when the reckoning aired and the courtroom footage hit, the spell started to break. Jurors didn't hold back when describing what they saw. The words they used were chilling. One juror reportedly said after the verdict, "You can't beat that small woman like that, the way he did. Unforgivable." That single statement rocked the industry to its core. It sent shockwaves through every corner of Diddy's circle, and through everyone who ever stood beside him, smiled in photos with him, or benefited from his empire.
You know, he's a man with the power. He's in 60 markets. He's written these books. You know, he's socially connected with the programs and Disney and all these type people.
Because once the court declared Diddy guilty on those transportation charges, every associate had to face the same haunting question. How deep do my fingerprints go? And for Steve Harvey, whose name now sits in that cloud of speculation, that question might be the one keeping him up at night. The fear surrounding Steve Harvey right now isn't just about reputation, it's existential. 50 Cent's made it clear he's nowhere near done. He's been dropping cryptic hints that the next installment of his explosive expose will zero in on the gatekeepers. And in Hollywood, that word cuts deep. Gatekeepers aren't the ones caught breaking the rules. They're the ones making the phone calls to hide the mess. They cancel stories before they print, patch up chaos before it hits page 6, and smile for cameras while whispering warnings behind the scenes. They're the ones who protect the machine not by getting their hands dirty, but by keeping everyone else quiet. So if 50's next doc really aims at that group, then Steve Harvey's name being tied to it makes sense. He's one of the last clean patriarchs of the entertainment world, a man wrapped in faith, fortune, and influence that stretches across every major network. If 50 brings him into the spotlight, it might not be to call him an accomplice, but to make him a symbol of the polished old-school power structure that quietly let this culture thrive for decades. And the industry feels that heat. Publicists are on edge. Networks are reviewing contracts, and execs are checking their call logs, figuring out who owes who favors. Nobody wants to be caught on the wrong side of history when this next wave hits. There are even whispers that one major streaming platform has already pressed pause on a Harvey-related project. Just in case. The energy in Hollywood is tense, like everyone's waiting for the next shoe to drop, and they all know 50 Cent's the one holding it high and ready. No official statements, of course. Just the usual scheduling conflicts and production delays. But come on, everyone knows what that really means. It's hesitation, the kind that buzzes beneath the surface when people start getting nervous. Even fans can feel the shift. Social media is flooded with clips of Steve's old sermons, his act like a man advice, his endless motivational speeches about morals and integrity. But now, those same clips that once sounded inspiring suddenly feel like confessions in disguise. It's eerie and honestly fascinating. Watching this slow unmasking of a public figure who once seemed untouchable, the world seeing the cracks form in real time. The polished mentor image is starting to fade, replaced by something colder, something more calculating. Every grin starts to look like a smirk. Every silence feels loaded, like guilt wrapped in charm. And for a man who built an empire teaching people how to stay cool under pressure, this might be the first time he's actually losing control of the story. But here's the wildest theory making rounds. And so far, no one's dared to confirm it. Insiders are whispering that Steve's team may have already reached out to 50 Cent's camp. Not to threaten, but to negotiate. To quietly ask what's coming next. Maybe even try to shape the narrative before it hits Netflix screens. Total speculation for now. But if there's truth to it, that's huge. It would mean even the most powerful, most polished names in entertainment are scrambling behind the scenes. Because once 50 Cent's cameras turn in your direction, there's no hiding, no script, no saving face. There's only exposure, and the whole world watching. Once 50 Cent's cameras lock on you, you don't get to decide how you look anymore. The footage does. And judging by how obsessed the public is with watching empires crumble, this story's not slowing down anytime soon. It's only picking up speed, fast. What makes this whole situation so fascinating is that it's not just exposing a few individuals, it's ripping the curtain off the system itself. For decades, Hollywood's golden rule was simple: protect the brand at all costs. But now, that brand loyalty is collapsing right in front of us. The FBI raids, the lawsuits, the viral clips, all of it has turned the industry's once shiny image into pure chaos. The gloss is gone, replaced with grime, secrets, and scandal. People are naming names, and not just small ones. We're talking about legends, the kind of figures who were once untouchable. And in a climate like that, someone like Steve Harvey, rich, respected, family first, becomes the perfect target. Because if even he turns out to be compromised, then nobody's safe. The public knows it, and that's why they can't look away. So now, as everyone waits for 50 Cent's next project to drop, the real question is whether Steve's carefully crafted image can hold, or whether it finally cracks under the pressure. The timing feels too perfect, the silence way too loud, and the tension in Hollywood is thick enough to cut. And if history has taught us anything about scandals like this, panic always comes right before the truth hits daylight. And judging by how desperate Steve's been to project calm lately, you can feel that something big is about to break. The smiles look forced, the interviews sound rehearsed, and the silence, it's deafening. Something's brewing, and it's getting harder to ignore. So the real question is Steve Harvey just another name caught in someone else's storm? Or is this the reckoning he's been dodging for years? The clock's ticking, and all eyes are locked on him. We'll be watching every move, every post, every statement, every sudden scheduling conflict, until the truth finally cracks through that polished surface. Because in Hollywood, secrets don't disappear. They wait for the right moment, the right leak, the right camera to expose it all. Until next time, stay alert, stay curious, and remember, the bigger the smile, the darker the secret hiding behind it. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below. Let's hear what you think. Is Steve innocent, or is this the calm before his own storm?